we were talking about like corporations and things like that fucking over like games and things like that. Yo, let's talk about like the most like nail in the coffin for a game that was legit like was about to reach 2 years old but was still like young, so the company had to like butcher it, right? And it is this one, Mortal Kombat 1.
Pleases me to again.
Mortal Kombat 1 just released a definitive edition for Mortal Kombat 1. We are going to support Mortal. Yeah, it has movie skins for the upcoming Mortal Kombat 2 movie. It has like Shao Kahn and things like that. But yeah, Mortal Kombat got a definitive edition. To the unseen eye, this is like, yeah, whatever, Mortal Kombat got like a definitive edition, but no, it's actually far more worse and grim than that. Might get it when it's $2 on sale.
Bruh.
When you have like a definitive edition of a game, chat, usually that would signal a lot of like gamer savvy, you know, eyes and ears. A lot of people, gamer savvy people. Yeah, definitive edition means that like, okay, the game is done as done, right? There's no more. It actually means there's no more content for Mortal Kombat 1 whatsoever. Shit is like done for Mortal Kombat. I'm just like, wow, that is very shocking and kind of depressing, right? The road to like Mortal Kombat has been very like sloppy, mismanaged. A lot of like, what was that message that James said about the Mortal Kombat Definitive Edition? I remember my mod saying this. Hype without substance. Mortal Kombat 1 definitely like yeah, it just had a lot of fucking problems. Yo, I mean, to be fair, we were all like hyping up MK1. We were all hyping up MK1 before the game was like even out, right? Yo, remember all those people, including like me, that was like talking about like this like new era type shit that Liu Kang was making for the new Mortal Kombat universe? Yo, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are brothers now. Liu Kang is the new god. Raiden and Kung Lao are friends. Things like that. There's a whole lot of like hype potential about it. And then we had like the gameplay about, okay, you know, there were a lot of people complaining about MK11 back then, right? How it was slow as fuck and it was weighty as fuck. But when we saw like the gameplay, yeah, a lot of people were very iffy about cameos. Yeah, they were very much like tired of cameos. We didn't want cameos to be in Mortal Kombat. We wanted to have actual characters, you know, things like that. But no, Netherealm just decided, oh, we're gonna make like technically an assist-based fighter, but let's make it like 1v1, you know? Yeah, there were like some problems, but everything before Mortal Kombat 1, before like launch day, was all like hype, you know? And it was touting like a very cool like cinematic story mode, things like that. And then the game came out, right? The story was okay. The story was alright. It was just leading up to like Armageddon. There were a lot of like character like change-ups, but no like real conclusive like end. Yeah, like it was meh. It was okay to like meh. I would say it's like more meh. The one that was very like, why was this necessary, was Combat Pack 2 with Chaos Reigns. I thought that was whatever. Oh my god, you're right. Fucking Megan Fox as Nitara and her bland ass like recorded like lines with no like oomph. I put that away out of like my memory. Oh yeah, Megan Fox was Nitara. Where are the tits? Yeah, like the Shang Tsung shit was really like good. And then there was like the other story, which was Chaos Reigns, and that was like a side story about the Lin Kuei and the upbringing of the Robo girl ninjas, now girl ninjas, Cyrax and Sector. Yeah, like I thought they were cool, Cyrax and Sector, right? I couldn't stand like Sector, you know, having a love interest for Sub-Zero. I'm like, what the fuck? Reptile was cool. Yeah, there are like some good qualities about MK1, at least like a story or at least like character. General Shao was cool. Baraka and Reptile, I especially love like Baraka. Baraka became like a family man, and so did like Reptile. Baraka is like, I have a family. Humanizing like characters, you know, shit like that. Some weird like character choices like here and there. It was interesting. Was it like a positive? Maybe for certain like characters. I definitely love Johnny Cage, him being like a movie quote man. And then there was like Invasions, which is like, no, not really. I tried like Invasions just to see like how it is. Never again. Invasions is like a new single player mode after the main story campaign of MK1. Don't try it, chat. All it is just egregious like Mario Party, but with Mortal Kombat characters. You know, like the classic, you know, like the towers that we had in previous games with crazy, nutty, like, you know, fight conditions and things like that. Yeah, Invasion just like is just so insufferable to the point of like, I just want to get this done. It's not even enjoyable anymore. It's not even my favorite mode. But all it like really came down was like the gameplay, where it was like, okay, it's kind of like fast, albeit, you know, right. Everybody hated like the cameos and stuff like that, but people really dug like, you know, the technically sped up like gameplay from MK11 to MK1, which is MK1, right? MK1 having like faster combos and things like that. Not all of it was really like translated well because, yeah, the game had a lot of technical problems in the first months to, let's say, even 2 months of like launch, right? We had infamous bugs that plagued Mortal Kombat, such as the player 2 bug, player 2 glitch, where player 1 had all the advantage and player 2 was at a disadvantage. We didn't get a lot of character representation because certain cameos were really good at doing the job done for really like simple combos, but just a lot of really good damage. Serena and Day 1 Cyrax were just really good in like in that department. We didn't get to see a lot of explosive like dynamic like characters seen in the meta of MK1, and they were just like, and there were just a lot of other shit that plagued Mortal Kombat 1, such as, oh, you had to pay. Did you know you had to pay for brutalities? I shit you not, you had to pay for brutalities. And that's where the WB-ness like kicks in, right? Earlier on, you had like fatalities that were deemed to like, you know, festivities like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. Chat, did you know that you had to pay for them? An in-game mechanic of fatalities, and you had to pay for them. Cosmetics are, well, I'm not gonna say excusable, right? It still is like, okay, you had to pay money to get this really awesome Noob Saibot skin, where I can't just like grind it. Oh, and the grind is awful, bro. Oh my god, the grind is awful. Yo, dude, it sucks so much because the only way to like have a sufficient like way to grind in Mortal Kombat 1 was really just like fatalities or brutalities. But in a way, if you do that, you'll be seen as a fucking BMer. Yeah, but there were just like a lot of inconsistencies. It felt really like slow and sluggish gameplay wise, even though it's very like, you know, quote unquote expressive and just technically fast paced. But dude, it was just fucking rough for Mortal Kombat. And this was being touted as like MK Mortal Kombat's like comeback year. Like this was like Netherealm's like biggest like game so far. We didn't even have like a tournament or something until like very like later on, at least like I think a little bit before season 2. It's coming by. And then we got like season 2 and we got like more characters. Well, the guest characters, yeah, oh man, nah. The guest characters were kind of like meh though, right? Outside of very selective few, like Omni-Man was cool and Peacemaker was cool, right? Peacemaker was cool, Conan was cool, Ghostface, and I think Terminator is pretty like top tier. The T-1000, Robert Patrick, I've seen from like Combo Breaker. Yeah, he's pretty much top tier. Yeah, Conan had like the camel punch. He had like his counter, but you hardly ever saw any Conans in like top 8. At least like that's from like my information. Nobody played Conan in Combo Breaker MK1. No, nobody did. Losers. Fucking. But yeah, just throughout the 2 years of MK1, they just like suffered a lot, mostly because of like the WB-ness, right? It was pretty much like a rushed product. There were a lot of stuff that didn't really like were fleshed out really well, because yeah, we just had to get like a Mortal Kombat like out there so that it could like, you know, get on par with things like Street Fighter and Tekken, you know. That's my assumption. But there were a lot of like things that were mishandled, and they just wanted to deliver like a product, and it was just very like sloppy. The ideas were there, except for maybe like invasions and maybe like towers. Some of like, you know, the towers, not classic towers, but yeah, it was just very like rushed out. Like, yeah, the more like I think about it, it's just like, yeah, I don't want to like, you know, harsh on MK1, but the fact that we got like a definitive edition of MK1 means that yeah, like, yeah, all the cons really much like worsened MK1 to the fact that like, oh, we can't continue funding for MK1 anymore, and so we're just gonna get like a definitive edition and move on to our next game. That's what like the definitive edition means for MK. Yeah, and it's very like unfortunate though. It's very unfortunate. It's like kind of like the recurring like cycle of Mortal Kombat games where yeah, like even back then, like MKX now what is touted as like the best playing Mortal Kombat whatsoever. But back in the day, you know, people didn't like MKX a lot. It was just very like aggressive. It was just a lot of like 50-50 mix. Nobody liked the character visuals of MKX a lot. It was very dark. It was very like gritty. The online, outside of like, you know, day one was kind of rough, but with rollback it actually got a little bit better. Nobody liked the variations, right? Things like that. And then MK11 happened, which was like an answer. MK11 was the prettiest looking Mortal Kombat, but it played so ass, but it had so much like content rich games. Both games were shared in a similar viewpoint, because you want to know why? At the end of their lifespan, they were getting respected really well. Same thing with what's happening with like MK1. Now that there's more patches and balance updates for Mortal Kombat, which they will do outside of just official releases, like Warner Brothers or Netherealm are gonna stop continuing support for Mortal Kombat. But they are gonna be updating and balancing the game, you know, after, you know, this year, right? There's gonna be continual like updates, you know, like a Dragon Ball Fighter sort of situation. Funding has stopped for the game. There's no more like content, but there are gonna be like balance updates to make the game, you know, as technically more funner than it could possibly be. Yeah, it's just a shame that like what happened with Mortal Kombat, and we heard news that yeah, the guys at Mortal Kombat Netherealm are probably going to be not probably, they are definitely in production of their next game, right? A lot of fans are speculating that it could be like an Injustice. I'm thinking more of the lines of a Mortal Kombat versus a DC. I would not want Injustice 3. I do not want Injustice 3, chat, because of the fact that like Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, albeit, you know, DC like fighting games, I would be down for like maybe an MK versus DC. But then again, Netherealm did say that they're getting tired of Mortal Kombat, so they want to like take like a little break, which is, that's pretty, you know, lining up to like their truth, because yeah, we had MK11 and then we had MK1, right? Back to back. Usually, I think it like started with MK versus DC, where like MK versus DC happened, then MK9, then Injustice, then MKX, then Injustice 2, and then MK11, and then straight after that was like MK1. So I think they should like take a break away from like Mortal Kombat. I know I don't like Injustice, but man, that would have been much more better to have like a perfectly like polished out like maybe MK versus DC instead of the rough looking one that we had in the PS3 era. Holy shit though. So yeah, it's just pretty unfortunate for Mortal Kombat to just be buried like that with a definitive edition with only like 2 seasons of content. But to be fair, this was all like WB's fault. This was like a rushed product. This was a lot of like studio, like based on this talk, interference that, you know, that was like going on with like Mortal Kombat. And it didn't even have and it doesn't even have the chance. I mean, it will still have like chances via updates and stuff like that, but no more material for MK when they're finally trying to, you know, reach like a peak, you know? Which like, what crazy stuff do they have? Oh, the Floyd hunt? That was really cool, and the news and the concept trailer stage from the first trailer of MK1. They also had like what else content do they have? Animalities was there, you know? Unique looking brutalities and fatalities for the game, right? We could have had like maybe side stories to continue Mortal Kombat journeys, but no, it's just a lot of the shit that happened with MK definitely like screwed them. Were definitely like fate was, you know, against them. What the future could hold for like Netherealm, yeah, like I said, probably like an Injustice game. Probably an Injustice game is like the safest bet. That's like the most obvious one, you know? I could see that happening with like the hype of like, you know, Superman and things like that. But yeah, I'm just not that too into it unless it's like MK versus DC, maybe? MK versus DC? Like a crossover that will get really like casuals, like, you know, clamoring into it. Scorpion versus Superman again. You know, they've done it once before. They could probably do it again with better better like graphics and engines and gameplay. You know, less zoning, less spamming. But yeah, it is unfortunate, right? That we got like a definitive edition. And we even got like movie skins for the upcoming Mortal Kombat 2, you know? But what's done is done. It is what it is. You know? All we have to do is probably hope and pray for like the next Mortal Kombat project to, you know, give us like what we want. Yeah, just don't add in cameos. If you're gonna make like an assist-based fighter Mortal Kombat, at least like make it like Marvel vs. Capcom style. Let me do like some active tag switching between like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, do like some really cool looking combos. You have the combo spirit there, but just don't add in like cameos in there.